like to call the meeting of the Land Use Board meeting for January 6, 2020. Our new decade is beginning with a bang. We will start by saluting our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the entrance hall of Beach Haven Municipal Building and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision for each individual application. Decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Mayor Davis. Here. Mr. Taxis.
Here.
Mr. Allen.
Here.
Mr. Stevens.
Here.
Mr. Pisano.
Here.
Mr. Meadow.
Here.
Mr. Lujan.
Here.
Mr. Herensky.
Here.
Mrs. Eccles. Here. Mr. Jenna.
Here.
Mr. Tinquist.
Here.
Mrs. Baxter.
Here.
And Mrs. Lenhart.
Here. We're going to proceed now with a closed session because we have to have a reorganization since it's the first meeting of the year. We'll be back shortly.
Make an announcement. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, the board is going into closed session. We're going to have a motion to suspend these proceedings to allow them to go into closed session to discuss personnel. That's the sole purpose of this meeting. They will come out and then they will make their appointments. The board will have an election. There'll be a nomination for chair. The chair will then sit. We'll have a nomination for a vice chair. They'll appoint a secretary, they'll appoint a solicitor, and they'll appoint an engineer. And then they will go back, they will pick the dates for the meetings, the official newspapers, and reorganization, there's a reorganization resolution. There's certain minimal rules that we adopt at reorganization, such as the time of the meetings and the public portion. Normally the board agrees to move toward 10:30 for a public meeting and would extend only at the discretion of the board, if I'm not mistaken. Well, that's the nature, but right now there was a motion. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Yes. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
You voted?
All right. So at this point, the ballots have been passed for chair and vice chair, and each of the members cast their ballot. Did everybody pass Jackie a ballot to those offices, all the members in the corner? Thank you. All right, Jackie, tallied it.
All right, so there was 13 votes for Bonnie Lenhart for chair and 13 votes for Ken Muha as vice chair.
Congratulations.
Now you're going to do the oath of office for everything.
You have to, yeah, who's up for reelection?
Kenny, Jerry, Jenna, Nancy, Don Cactus, and Dan Allen, myself, and Smith. They all have to be.
If that's the case, I should have done that before. Okay, so what I'm going to do is hand you the oath of office. Bonnie.
Here's the.
Okay.
Who has the bill list?
Nancy,
Anyone? I don't know what.
you're up for election.
Oh, thank you.
Up for it. John. Dan. Kenny, do you want him with his name on it? All right, will all the members being sworn in, please stand. Thank you. And read. You have everybody. And repeat after me. I state your name in full.
I, Nancy Myers,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
to the governments established in the United States
to the governments established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
of the office of Beach Haven Land Use Board member,
of the office of the Chairman Land Use Board member,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. If you will sign those, and I will then take your, thank you. Thank you. Oath of office. That's a one for me to. I want the man that says, you're right. Thank you.
Before we go on, we have to establish members of the three-person committee, and you can only be a Class 4 member to be on the three-person committee. At present, I think I'm on it, Ken's on it, and Tom Neville. Do you both want to continue to be a member of the three-person committee?
Sure.
Okay. Anybody else desire to be on it? I can give it up. Okay. All right, we're all set then. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Jack.
Thank you. Great. We have the minutes.
No, we still have to, what we have to do before we do that is the meetings of the board. Do you have a list, Jackie?
Yes.
And let me have the reorganization resolution, if I could, make a motion to adopt that. Thank you. So, the board meets on the, unless you want to change it, it meets on the first Monday of the month, and we're going to start in 2020, if this resolution is passed, at 6 o'clock. And what we do is we start at 6 o'clock in executive session, and if there's closed session, we go into closed session, we come out, and we then go right into the public portion of the meeting. Whether it's closed or open, after the executive session, we do not go on, we don't set another time for the regular meeting. We advertise a notice for 6 o'clock, but the way we work effectively is if there's board business that has to be attended to prior to the public meeting, we do that at 6, and then we'll start the regular meeting. Sometimes it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, other times it may be half an hour. But just so the public, this will be this resolution calls for our meeting tonight is the first meeting, but we have Monday, February 3rd, 2020, Monday, March 2nd, 2020, Monday, April 6th, 2020, Monday, May 4th, 2020, Monday, June 1st, 2020, Monday, July 6th, 2020, Monday, August 3rd, 2020, Tuesday, September 8th, 2020, and that Tuesday is because Labor Day, if I'm not mistaken, falls on the 7th. Monday, October 5th, 2020, Monday, November 2nd, 2020, Monday, December 7th, 2020, and our reorganization meeting is Monday, January 4th, 2021, and that's reorganization regular meeting starting at 6 o'clock. So if that's acceptable to the board members, we would need a motion to adopt this resolution, and that's 2020-01.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
should we say the time that it ends? Like now it says 10, and we'll go from 7 to 10.
In our rules and regulations.
Yeah.
That's in our rules and regulations, but I think we should announce that at the time. Do you have the other reorganization, the newspapers?
Yes.
Where is that? Let me see if we do that. If this is full. No, is there another resolution for the newspapers? This is for the professional.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's on this one, it's on the first one.
Okay, let me see that. That's what this is. Just so we're square, this is, okay, we're gonna do this all as one, those are the dates, and we have our reorganization resolution, so that would be the first order of business would be the dates. The second order of business would be reorganizing, and I cited that we start at 6 o'clock on the first Monday, except in the case of legal holidays, and then the meeting would be the following date as we said here, or otherwise set forth upon notice and in accordance with the municipal land use law and in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. We set forth in this resolution that the public shall not participate in workshop sessions or discussions, but may be present and listen. The public may, at public business meetings, participate at such time or times as set forth in the agenda of the meeting or in the discretion of the presiding officer or chairperson. The meeting shall adjourn at 10:30 with no, that's what we were talking about. 10:30 with no further testimony being taken or other business conducted unless otherwise ordered in the discretion of the board.
So, I would like to change that. Nobody wants to come at 6 and stay till 10:30 at night. That's too long. So we either leave it at 7 and stay till 10, or we change it to 6 and change it to 9. I'm for coming at 6 and leaving at 9, because professionals have worked all day, they want to get home, they just don't see the point of going to 10 o'clock. Any comments?
I agree.
I agree.
So you're all on board with 6 to 9?
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments?
Just with the proviso, I think that you can extend it. The meetings, just so you're aware, and I say this not to argue or differ with you, but to bring an application before a board is a very expensive proposition for an applicant. And looking at it, so they're hiring experts and bringing people in to offer testimony and support their application.
I understand that.
And you want to be sensitive to that because some applications, they're developments and you're looking, there may be some financial gain at the end. Others are people at homes and want to take care of it, repairing or improving their properties.
Right.
So it's an expense.
I understand all of that. I just feel after 3 hours of listening to testimony, people start to zone out. They don't start hearing what is testified to. They're tired, they want to go home. So I think it's a waste of everybody's time and money to keep them here the extra time.
So basically you're asking then, and the board's in agreement, we leave this at 6 o'clock, and then when the resolution's adopted, it's going to be at 9 o'clock, it's going to be the end of the meeting.
I think what, may I just say, I think what Stu's trying to say is that, let's say you can finish up at 9:30 and everybody's done.
Right.
I mean, we do have the ability to make that decision at 9 o'clock, that we will extend this for a half an hour. I do think that we should be careful in scheduling the meetings so that we don't have meetings that extend to 10 and 11 o'clock. If we know it's going to be a long discussion, then we shouldn't schedule 2 or 3 cases the same night. But I think at 9 o'clock, we as a group can say, listen, we think we can finish this up by 9:30 or 9:45. We all agree to stay here till that point.
Correct.
I think we should be able to have that rush.
And that's, the
what it
discretion
says.
is in here.
Okay,
That's in there now.
okay.
So that's going to be 9 o'clock. And In the event regular public meetings, sessions, or additional meetings have to be held at a date, time, and place other than set forth, same may be set by the chairperson and we'll do the actual notice and publication. There was a time when there was quite a bit of activity before the boards, and some of the boards were, every other month they were having 2 meetings instead of 1, so people were not delayed. So there's things you can do if it's necessary. One of the other items on the reorganization is in our rules and regulations, so that time for a hearing for an application is there's a 1-hour rule for the presentation of an application and for the comments of the public. And that period can be extended by the board at its discretion. And so that's something that has been in our reorganization over the years, and it's something the board is continuing. Lastly, the notice is given, there's forms and applications, and it's, we do have rules and regulations in place, and there's the Municipal Land Use Law and the Open Public Meetings Act, and there are requirements, and it's incumbent upon the applicant to be made aware of those particular items. The board has revisited their application, and there are checklists which can assist in assuring that applicants are in compliance. We also have a requirement that any application must be filed within 21 days prior to the meeting, and the purpose of that is so that the borough and the board engineer has an opportunity to timely review it, and if there are changes or anything that has to be supplemented, they can be met within the timeframes under the Municipal Land Use Act. As you're aware, publication has to be made within 10 days of the meeting, and plans have to be on file normally within 14. So that's the reorganization resolution, with the last item that the board is designating the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City as those newspapers which would meet the notice requirements if notification has to be posted or published. The board has obligations as well and uses these newspapers when they have to make notice of special meetings and any other activity in any publication of the results of applications. So with the change that we made as to the 6 o'clock to the 9 o'clock, we're asking that Resolution 2020-01, setting forth the dates of the meetings, the times, the limitations on the presentation, and the newspapers be adopted. So we would call for a motion for that. You all have a copy of this resolution.
Do I have a motion to approve the resolution 2020-01?
So moved.
And a second?
Second?
All in favor? Or you gonna call it?
No, you have to vote roll.
I'll call everybody's name.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Paxtis.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Mr. Meadow.
Yes.
Mr. Muha.
Yes.
Mr. Pisano.
Yes.
Mr. Herensky.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
Mrs. Eddles.
Yes.
Mr. Jenna.
Yes.
Mr. Tinquist.
Yes.
Mrs. Baxter.
Yes.
And Mrs. Lenhart.
Yes.
Thank you.
Lastly, Madam Chair, you have to move to appoint your professionals for the year.
Do you want this to? Yes. Do I have a motion to appoint our professionals, the board engineer Frank Little and the board attorney Stu Snyder and Bob Shin, who is our conflict attorney?
So moved.
Second?
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Paxtis.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Mr. Meadow.
Yes.
Mr. Muha.
Yes.
Mr. Pisano.
Yes.
Mr. Herensky.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
Mrs. Eddles.
Yes.
Mr. Jenna.
Yes.
Mr. Tinquist.
Yes.
Mrs. Baxter.
Yes.
And Mrs. Lenhart.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have that other one? Yeah, can I have the other one?
And I have the approval of minutes and bills, and
All right.
We have an announcement for the 2020-01. And then I'm going to turn to
Yeah.
Everybody got a copy of the bills to review?
No, wait, can I ask a question? Don't we have to appoint Jackie again? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we said that at the meeting.
We did.
Yeah, yeah.
But do we have to do
We need a
it?
motion to appoint a secretary.
Right.
I forgot.
I moved to appoint,
This is the meeting, remember?
Okay, you have to do it publicly, I'm sorry.
Okay.
yeah. So,
Do I have a motion to appoint Jackie Fife as our land use board secretary, as our wonderful land use board secretary?
so moved.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Cactus.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Mr. Meadow.
Yes.
Mr. Muha.
Yes.
Mr. Pisano.
Yes.
Mr. Horensky.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
Mrs. Edel's.
Here.
Mr. Jenna.
Yes.
Mr. Tinquist.
Yes.
Mrs. Baxter.
Yes.
And Mrs. Lenhart.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion to approve the bills.
I make a motion to approve the bills.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Now there's December 2nd minutes.
December 2nd minutes, everybody was sent. We have a motion to approve.
Yes.
Motion.
Tom?
Sorry.
That should be a roll call, and only those members who are present at the December 2nd meeting.
All right, who was not here December 2nd? That's easier. Scott? And who else? Everybody else is here? And you were late to go. You were there.
At the end.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Caxton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Meadow?
Yes.
Mr. Muha?
Yes.
Mr. Pisano?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Edel's?
Yes.
Mr. Jenna?
Yes.
Mr. Tinquist?
Yes.
Mr. Baxter?
Yes.
Mrs. Lenhart?
Yeah, yes, sorry. All right, moving right along tonight, we have application 2020-01 for 2209 West Avenue, Block 16, Lot 15. They are waiving their time to consider a review letter they took from Frank Little. And they will be advising us when they are ready to resubmit to the board.
They're asking that this be carried indefinitely. Just so you're aware, they're going to have to renotice and re-advertise this application, so it's
It's
not...
so long.
Not because it's long, but because they did not advertise. There were certain variances that were developed after Mr. Little's review, and one of them being a special reasons variance because the development exceeds the floor area ratio. So as such, they need to specifically, that doesn't come within a catch-all of renovation, so they're going to have to re-advertise and re-notice. And I think based upon the letter that we received, I think the public should be made aware when they're coming in. And I don't think I gather from Mr. Coronado there's not a problem with that based upon, he's asking to put this off somewhat indefinitely.
Yes.
So we're just going to carry it on our books, at least for 60 days. If it doesn't come at that point, we may want to take some action.
Okay. The announcement, the following application has been reviewed and approved by a three-person committee. It's the Ship Bottom Brewery has been approved to extend their closing time from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Now we will, yeah, we did everything else. Yeah. Tom's going to talk to you about fire code.
All right, with respect to the amount of people that we have in the room, this is obviously a contentious undertaking here. We have seating for 100. The room occupancy versus the seating capacity are two different things. We are well within, as long as we keep the egress lanes open, we are well within safety protocols. That goes for the people out in the hallway. Try to listen in as best you can. There's another door over here if you want to try to listen in. There's some people already there, but we cannot keep postponing the meeting indefinitely so the whole world can come. All right, unfortunately, we have
Open Public Meetings
to.
Act, you have to allow people to hear. Yeah, it's a violation of the Open Public Meetings Act if people can't hear.
Can't participate.
The room,
Can't participate around here.
They need to put a speaker out there.
Can't hear.
You can all hear?
we don't have the ability to put a speaker out there, but if they can come up to the doors and listen in, that would require them to be quiet out there so they can hear. That being said, anyone that's standing, please do not kneel or sit down. Young lady in the back, please stand. We don't want you to be tripped over.
I'm going to step down and wish everybody a happy New Year. Thank you for the appointment.
Who gets your seat?
Mr. Shane, and I warmed it up for him, but not. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
My name is Robert Shen. I'm the conflict attorney for Beach Haven. Thank you, by the way, for appointing me. There's one application on for tonight. I know it's been contentious. The application is 525 Second Street LLC, Block 148.01, lots 1 through 4, and Lot 148, Lot 7, and that's Morrison's. By the way, quick overview. There's a lot.
Speak close to them.
Yeah, sure.
They can hear that.
Can people in the hallway hear me? Can everybody hear? Okay. How's that? Good. Okay. I just want to announce that there's been some emails that were sent to board members by the public asking the board members to vote yes or no. Inappropriate, please don't do that. If you want to send something regarding an application, send it to the secretary, not the board members directly. Basically you're trying to taint a board member. It's like trying to taint a juror. So I'll ask everybody to stop doing that. I know I saw one today. Somebody was complaining because they sent something last week and none of the board members got back to her. Just explaining that now so that people don't do that. I've got two professionals. I'm going to swear them both in now. Get that out of the way. Gentlemen, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
Yes, but
And Mr. Little, you've been the engineer for the borough for many years, haven't you?
correct.
The board recognizes him. You want to state your name and your credentials?
Yes, excuse me. Hi, board. My name is James Minkowski. Call me Jim. I'm a licensed professional traffic engineer in the state of New Jersey. I received a degree in from Rutgers University in New Brunswick in 2002. I've been practicing engineering ever since. Currently in my role as CME is I represent various municipalities throughout the state of New Jersey and multiple counties, representing boards like this one here, as well as municipalities, reviewing applications and consulting for the board from matters relating to traffic, general engineering, utility engineering, and municipal engineering.
Okay. And the borough hired you as a traffic engineer?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to establish that because you've never testified here in Beach Haven before.
Correct.
Thank you. Mr. Raven, do you want to start?
Bob.
The conflict issue?
Yeah.
Okay, there's been some allegations of potential conflicts of members, so I guess we'll address that first. There was a letter sent to us by the objector's attorney claiming that there's a potential conflict with several of our members. I've discussed that potential conflict with the members. We got a brief on Friday with respect to that potential conflict, and I got a response today from the applicant's attorney responding to that. I have discussed that potential conflict with various members. I know one member feels he wants to step down. Just so it's clear here, that member was not told by anybody to step down. He's doing that voluntarily, and he can keep his reasons to himself if he wants, that's for sure. But with that being said, there's a couple members. I guess we'll go through you one at a time. Let's see.
Yeah, I guess I'll start. Yeah, as much as it pains me to say it, at the Surflight Theater, I made some comments that could be deemed as prejudicial to the site plan. And I've had a lot of time to think about this, and I think in the interest of a smooth process without any potential for legal technical loopholes to bring this back in front of us, that I have confidence in my fellow board members that they can also see this through just as well as I probably could. So I'm going to step down so that in the best interest of protecting this board, the town, and the borough, that no further legal issues might arise from me hearing this case through based on what was said at the Surflight. That being said, I guess I should go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
And I was not told to leave. That's just my own choice. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person that was accused of having a conflict was our mayor, and again, I did discuss that with our mayor. The objector's attorney cited his feelings that the mayor had a conflict. reviewing the brief from the applicant's attorney, the brief from the objector's attorney, I spoke with the mayor and found that I did not feel there was a conflict.
Mr. Shin, I'm sorry, let me just state for the record, my name is Keith Davis, I'm an attorney, I represent Ken Goldman, Judy Goodlife, Bill Moreno, Sharon Marie Davis, Dennis J. and Christine Dennis, Angelo and Cynthia Bonomo, and Roomore Whale LLC. I want to make sure that the record's clear. That's not what I wrote. What I indicated was it was brought to our client's attention that Mr. Allen was going to step down because of negative comments he made about this development application. Mayor Davis made comments very much supporting this development application. And the only thing I indicated in my letter is that there should be consistency in terms of determining conflicts of interest. And Mr. Allen spoke at the Surflight Theater. I was there as well. I heard what he had to say. And Mayor Davis did as well. That should be applied across the board in a consistent fashion. So I didn't indicate that Mayor Davis had a conflict. I only indicated that if there's going to be legal guidance provided, it ought to happen in a uniform manner. Mr. Allen has decided to step down. He indicates he has done so on his own accord. I take him at his word at that. But my letter indicated if he was going to be told to step down because of what he had to say, it ought to be consistently applied, and Mayor Davis should do the same.
Okay, as long as we're clear, he was not told that, just so you're clear on that.
Right.
Okay.
But I also didn't say that Mayor Davis was necessarily in conflict, which is what you just indicated.
We're just establishing that so that there's no question down the road that the mayor does not have a conflict of interest.
Since I have the microphone, I do want to state for the record that I believe this proceeding is in violation of the Open Public Meetings Act. There are people in the hallway, and I want the record to reflect this, there are people in the hallway that are not in this room, including my clients, who do not have the benefit of seeing the exhibits that are going to be presented by the applicant, and to be able to listen to these proceedings as they have every right to do under the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. This town should have known that this application was going to generate intensive public input and scrutiny. They understood that, and that's why at the last meeting when the redevelopment agreement was acted upon, it was held at the Surflight Theater, a huge room to accommodate all members of the public so they could speak. But yet we're doing this meeting here tonight in the smaller Borough Hall meeting, and I submit everybody should have a right to be in this room. Everybody should have a right as a member of the public to participate and listen in on these proceedings, and I want my objection stated that I believe this proceeding to be in violation of the Open Public Meetings Act.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. There was one other potential conflict that was raised.
I don't believe I have any conflict. Just can give a fair and honest judgment to this decision tonight.
Okay. And you heard earlier, the board members do take an oath to abide by the Constitution and to do their fiduciary duty and listen to the testimony and judge accordingly. So, and Jim Stevens, correct. I'm sorry, Jim.
Yes, I feel the same. I'm taking the oath. We'll listen. I don't have an opinion at this moment.
Okay, thank you. So everybody's telling you right now they're going to have an open mind regarding this application.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
I promise, I'm not going to beat up, you asked me at the beginning of the meeting, don't beat up my board members. I'm not going to beat up anybody tonight, but I do want to have a complete record so my clients have an understanding as to where board members are coming from with respect to this application. Mr. Stevens, have you worked for Taylor, Weissman & Taylor?
Yes.
Did you, in your capacity in that firm, prepare engineering plans concerning this very same property?
In 2010.
2010 on behalf of the owners of the property, correct?
We're a restaurant.
Okay. And is Taylor, Wiseman & Taylor, the professional engineer retained by the applicant, presenting tonight?
Yes.
Are you familiar with who those professionals are in that firm?
Yes.
Did you previously work with them?
Yes.
And despite that, you do not believe you're in conflict?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lincoln. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I would just like to clarify what the law is with regard to conflict. No member up here is in conflict. A relationship that ended 9 years ago is not the type of familial, economic, or employment relationship that could generate a conflict. There's a very issue with regard to Mr. Cactus and Mr. Allen in the mayor.
Speak closer so they can hear you in the back.
I'm sorry?
Speak into the mic.
Oh, I
closer.
apologize.
Yes, and lift it up so they can
This
hear you.
very issue was considered by the Supreme Court of New Jersey, and I could not do a lengthy response because I received the objector's papers 3 o'clock on Friday. But the Supreme Court of New Jersey dealt with a case in which an individual applied for a use variance for a hotel in Seabury. And the mayor and several public officials had spoken in favor of that application at public meetings. And the Supreme Court determined every individual has a First Amendment right to speak their mind about issues of public interest. You only cross the line where there is a personal or familial relationship. So the notion that there's a conflict of interest is ill-founded, and I just want to make clear, I think the applicant is entitled to have as many board members hear his case as are available. Thank you.
Thank you.
I only rise because there was another mischaracterization of what I indicated in my letter. It wasn't just that Mr. Kaxis spoke favorably about the redevelopment plan prior to public hearings. It was also that as a member of the governing body in the past, we believe he was on the redevelopment committee that sat down with this developer and prepared the very redevelopment plan that is guiding this development that's before the board this evening. He wrote the rules and now is going to be reviewing those rules with respect to this very application. That, coupled with the fact that he spoke already approvingly of this application, we submit gives rise to a conflict of interest. We've stated several times this evening, this is a judicial proceeding. It would be like a judge, speaking at a public forum before the trial starts saying, I've already made up my mind. That's not what these proceedings should be about. These proceedings should be about people coming before this board and the board members having absolutely no bias with respect to the application for development that is presented. So that's what I indicated in my letter, and I just want to make sure the record's clear in terms of what our position is with respect to Mr. Stevens and Mr. Kaxis.
Okay, that's fine. And they both told you that they were impartial, so I think we're past that. Do we want to start our application?
Well, what about the notice? We have to address that too.
I think that was addressed in their brief. I mean, the notice issue, I think, is a non-issue, quite frankly. Okay.
Could you elaborate?
Sure. Well, you explain your condition first.
Well, let me partially withdraw my objection in light of Mr. Lakin's letter that I received today, because he concedes in the letter that this facility will not be a banquet facility, which is news to us. And I've sat through a lot of meetings in this community and heard Mr. Vernon describe the nature of the use. We certainly thought this was going to be a banquet facility. And it's fine that it's not, but I want to make sure the record's clear in terms of what a banquet facility is. I assume that means there will be no weddings, special events, bar mitzvahs, confirmations, baptisms, any kind of charitable fundraisers, and that this is going to be nothing more than a traditional sit-down restaurant. If that is the stipulation that Mr. Lakin is making with respect to his client's development proposal, and all of those uses fall under what is considered to be a banquet facility, as to that aspect of my objection to the notice, I will withdraw it. But there are other aspects of this notice that I believe to be deficient. Not all the parking for this use will be located on site. Some of the parking spaces will be designated within municipal rights-of-way. That is very uncharacteristic. Typically, there's a requirement that you provide all of your parking spaces on site. That was not mentioned in the notice. The valet parking dynamic was not mentioned in the notice. There are other bars. There's not just a rooftop bar. There's a marina bar. There's a pavilion bar. Those are not mentioned in the notice, nor are the seats associated with those aspects of the use mentioned within the notice. And there's ambiguity in terms of how the marina is going to operate. There's going to be 5 special events per year, apparently, under the redevelopment agreement. And that's not specified in any level of detail. I agree with Mr. Lakin. It doesn't have to be exhaustive. But the notice has to reveal all of the material characteristics of the use that's being presented. There's a lot going on in this building. There's a lot going on with respect to this use. And the public has every right to be apprised as to what the nature of that use is. And for the reasons stated in our letter, we believe that the notice is deficient and that this board is without jurisdiction to consider the application this evening.
Sir, do you want to respond to that? Since you wrote your
I think we had everything, we did said everything we wanted in the brief. Notice need not have to be exhaustive. It needs to give a common sense idea of what it is out there. And if the notice gets too detailed, it becomes unimportant because people get lost in the detail. The parking, all the parking that we included in the notice is on site. There is not a single case that would support the notion that this notice is in any way invalid. Again, I addressed all that in my brief, and I thought the rules were clear.
Okay. I thank you for that. Okay, so I don't know how many people are in the hallway, but apparently the fire marshal is here, and apparently he's going to be shutting our meeting down tonight. So I apologize to everybody. It's not a funny matter. Everybody's here to listen to an application. Okay? But I'm being told now that the fire marshal and possibly even the Sunshine Act may preclude us from going forward tonight. So, is that my understanding? Mr. Raven? Mr. Larkin, do I have your consent to carry this until the next meeting? Yes, you do. Okay. And we'll probably try to get the firehouse next meeting. I think I said that last month. The surf light, just so everybody knows, we did mention the surf light last time when we told you it was going to be heard at a different forum. Surf light was not available. If the surf light is available, that's obviously a better forum than sitting in the firehouse on steel chairs. So we want to accommodate everybody. Mr. Larkin, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the only thing I would ask is that you announce insofar as possible the date, the time, and the place of the meeting, because that would obviate the need for us to serve a further notice. And I know it's difficult.
I won't be able to tell you the place until I call the surf light tomorrow morning and ask them if it's feasible.
I just wonder if it's acceptable to the objector that the place will.
Well, it's not just, he only represents 5 or 6 people. It's everybody.
The way I've seen it handled when the place is unknown is the tentative location is announced. At that location, if the meeting is moved. But the time and date could announce that. I'm sorry.
Since I was asked to speak, well, I don't have an objection, but it's your application, so it's your risk. I would say to you, I think there are people in the hallway who couldn't even hear the announcement if you made an announcement tonight. So it would seem to me that the conservative approach would be provide a new notice, the time, the place, the location, so every member of the public who has an interest in this application knows when the next meeting comes to be.
Mr. Larkin, I actually have to concur with that. So so everybody is on board with this. That's why we brought up the potential conflicts tonight. So everybody heard what the public had to say and to hear what our board members had to say. So I think it's on the same level, since we don't know where it will be. If I could tell you definitively it'd be the firehouse, I'd say that might be okay. We could go out and tell them in the hallway. But it's probably better if you just renotice.
Perhaps make one suggestion, and if it's the ruling that we have to renotice, we're going to do that because we don't want any error. Is it possible to make an announcement as to where it will be? If it changes, as long as we have sufficient notice, we'll renotice. That would obviate the need to notice.
Well, I think, again, I don't know what the hallway looks like, so I'm just worried people may not be able to hear us out there.
It doesn't look good.
Yeah, okay. They're going to renotice. So you waive any time frames for the board to make a decision, Mr. Larkin? On behalf of your client, you waive any time frames for the board to make a decision?
Just let us know as soon as possible.
Yeah. So everybody's aware of what's going on. The fire marshal is shutting.
Quiet, please.
Yes, please.
Quiet.
The fire marshal, I've been told, is shutting us down tonight for occupancy. So the hearing will be carried to another date. The next date will be February. Time and place to be noticed. They will have to renotice. Okay? And please, again, don't contact board members. If you do have questions you'd like the board members to ask the applicant's professionals, by all means, send them to Jackie. Jackie will get them to us, and we'll make sure that professionals are questioned. But don't contact the board directly. Don't try to influence the board directly. It's inappropriate. Okay? Motion to carry? Yes.
Do I have a motion to carry this to an unknown time and date? Please be quiet. This meeting is still in progress.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Pizzano?
Yes.
Mr. Meadow?
Yes.
Mr. Muha?
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Herenski.
Yes.
Mrs. Edel's. Mr. Jenna. Mr. Tinquist. Mrs. Baxter.
Yes.
Mrs. Lenhart.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.